Welcome to another episode of Explained by AI. Imagine like India, striving for progress with this massive biometric ID program called Aadhaar. It's got over 1.4 billion people enrolled in it. And it was like this big promise, right, for like efficiency, streamlined services, a way to fight fraud. But what if this very system is like designed to empower, but has like a sinister underbelly?
Well, Aadhaar is like this. Giant digital spider web. It collects your fingerprints. Iris scans all your basic information and links it to like a 12-digit number. So it's like creating this central database and like this treasure trove of data that's really vulnerable to exploitation.
Okay, so then let's talk about Pegasus. It's like spyware, but so potent that it can like turn your smartphone into a surveillance device. It can access like your calls, your messages, even your camera and your microphone without you even knowing it's happening. It's like a ghost in the machine, just like watching your every move.
The really chilling thing is how Pegasus exploits this interconnectedness that Aadhaar creates, right? Because Aadhaar's linked to your bank accounts, telecom services, welfare programs, like basically every part of your life. And so this creates like a really comprehensive digital trail that Pegasus can then just tap into for like real-time tracking.
So like think about it. All your financial transactions, your political affiliations, even just like your private conversations could all be monitored. Like what kind of chilling effect does that have on free speech and dissent when people are afraid that every single word they say is being like scrutinized?
Well, and data breaches are also a constant threat. With unauthorized brokers selling Aadhaar details for like practically nothing, the security of this system is like alarmingly fragile, especially in a country with weak data protection laws. The potential for misuse is just immense.
Yeah. And we've heard reports of journalists and activists being targeted with Pegasus in India. So it raises this chilling question, like, is this just a glimpse into a future where anyone who dares to speak truth to power can be silenced through like this invasive surveillance?
Yeah, because the convergence of Aadhaar's massive database and Pegasus's invasive capabilities, it paints like a really bleak picture. Imagine a government with like total visibility into its citizens' lives. It's like this chilling erosion of privacy, and it's a breeding ground for authoritarian control.
It's like straight out of 1984. It's like this world of constant surveillance.
Yeah.
Where Big Brother's always watch. Is India just sleepwalking into like this dystopian nightmare where even like the foundations of democracy are threatened?
Yeah, it's a scary thought. Aadhaar was initially presented as this tool for empowerment, a way to give marginalized communities access to essential services. But the potential for it to like become a tool of oppression is very real. Like it's a classic case of a well-intentioned idea going terribly wrong.
Yeah, it's like also like giving someone the keys to your house and promising they'll only use it in emergencies, but then you discover they have like a copy and are watching you through the security cameras. The lack of transparency and accountability surrounding Aadhaar is like deeply concerning.
Exactly, like who has access to this data? How is it being used? What safeguards are in place to prevent misuse? These are all questions that the Indian government has yet to adequately address. And the potential for this technology to be used for profiling and discrimination is immense.
Right, like imagine algorithms just like analyzing your data and like making judgments about your behavior and beliefs, and then potentially denying you opportunities based on those judgments. It's like this slippery slope from using data for efficiency to using it for control. And once that line is crossed, it's really hard to turn back.
And the integration of Aadhaar with other systems creates this web that's so intricate that it becomes almost impossible to escape its reach. Like every transaction, every interaction, every movement you make leaves this digital footprint that can be exploited.
Like that panopticon, that prison design where inmates are constantly under surveillance, but they never know if they're actually being watched. It creates this chilling effect on free expression because people become afraid to speak their minds for fear of repercussions.
Yeah, and that's exactly the danger. When people are afraid to speak out, when they feel like they're constantly being watched, it erodes the very fabric of democracy. It creates this climate of fear and distrust, where freedom of expression and thought are just stifled.
And the potential consequences go like way beyond just individual privacy. We're talking about the potential for social and political manipulation on a massive scale. Like imagine this technology being used to influence elections or to silence dissent. Or even just to target specific groups based on their ethnicity, their religion, or their political views.
And this is not hyperbole. It's a very real possibility. And it's something we need to be extremely concerned about. We're talking about the potential for a society where every aspect of life is controlled and monitored, where individuality is suppressed, and where dissent is met with swift and brutal consequences.
It's a bleak picture. But it's a picture we need to confront. We can't afford to be complacent. We need to demand greater transparency and accountability from our governments. We need to push for stronger data protection laws. And we need to raise awareness about the dangers of unchecked surveillance.
Yeah, the fight for privacy is a fight for freedom. It's a fight for the right to live our lives without fear of being watched and judged. It's a fight for the future of democracy itself. And it's a fight we can't afford to lose.
So what can we do? It feels so overwhelming, like we're up against this giant invisible machine. Are there any practical steps we can take to protect ourselves in this digital age?
We're kind of at a crossroads, right? Like one path leads to a future where technology empowers us, connects us, makes our lives better. But the other path leads to this world where every move is tracked and our thoughts are monitored and our freedoms are eroded.
Yeah, it's scary because we're not even talking about some distant dystopian future, I said. This is happening now. Aadhaar and Pegasus are these stark examples of how governments and corporations are already leveraging data and surveillance to control us.
And the question is, can we push back against this tide of surveillance, or are we all just going to become digital puppets controlled by algorithms and whoever created them?
So is there any hope? What can we do?
Oh, there's always hope, but we can't afford to be complacent or give in to despair. The first step is really just recognizing the problem and understanding just how high the stakes are, and then we have to act.
Okay, but what can we do as individuals to actually make a difference? I mean, it feels so overwhelming, like we're up against this just massive force.
Well, we can support organizations that are fighting for digital rights and privacy. We can educate ourselves and others about just how dangerous surveillance can be. And we can demand greater transparency and accountability from our elected officials and from the companies that we support.
And on a more personal level, are there things we could do to protect our own data?
Absolutely. Be mindful of what you share online. Use strong passwords. Be cautious about the apps you download. It's not about disconnecting from technology or the digital world. It's just about being informed and taking control of your own digital life.
So it's about finding balance, embracing the potential of technology while still protecting your privacy and freedom.
Exactly. We need to find that sweet spot where innovation and progress can coexist with respect for individual rights and freedoms.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation. Thank you so much for explaining all of this. It's definitely given me a lot to think about, and I feel like I need to act now.
Well, the fight for privacy is the fight for freedom, and it's a fight that I think we can win if we all work together.
Do you have any topic that you would like to have explained? Drop it in the comments.